Hello everyone, it's Cheryl Millett here live at 5 for All Things Healthy. How's everyone doing? It sure is one of those times where there's a lot of information, more information than anyone can even well imagine at this time. It's just endless. I mean, if you stick to one side, you're missing out on what is actually happening on the other side too. So this is the level of awareness, and awareness is key. It's always been key here, a level of awareness, just to be aware, know what's going on, and at times to accept others who are in a position of not being able to accept what's going on. So it's as much as compassion needs to come out, and to actually pay attention to, it's just not us or any one individual who it's impacting everybody. And there's definitely opportunities here. There's definitely things going on that is great, awesome, and people are definitely tuning in what's more important, absolutely. And in some ways, it's a lot of uncovering of what's going on. I mean, you can hear that on when people talk about spiritual. But I want to talk about a few things because there is, again, so much stuff's going on. But Live at 5 does have 3 components for those who are new. And one component is something different or something new. And something different, then they go into some news or something of current value, something that's going on. And then some jokes. So we can just lighten up, leave it on a lighter note. Well, let's just be light this whole Live at 5 anyway. Let's just be light. So what's the something new? I'm going to show you this chart here. Oh yeah, you can see it very well. But the camera's going to do it. So the Bristol stool chart. Have you ever seen this? So I've decided that within IOSM, the International Academy of Universal Self-Mastery, that I would do a series of things about self-exploration in the sense of self-diagnosis, because some of these books that I have read, whether it was research for my book or other, the one I picked up at the dentist, you can see that here, this big health and longevity book, has a whole section in there about taking care of yourself, not having to go to the doctor. I mean, it's just amazing. It's a very big book, as you can see, and it's only 1,500 pages. The pages are very thick. It's over 100 years old. Only can find it in places of, I'm just going to call it the medical libraries, like in Philadelphia Medical School or something like that. Hi, sis. So Bristol stool chart, something new. If you haven't, you can look it up. It's as easy to look at this. I'll keep it up while I'm talking about it here. So as you can see, there's type 1, type 2, type 3, right down to type 8. And each of them actually have a little bit of a description here, tell you a little bit about what's kind of going on. I'm going to read a couple of them to you so you can get an idea. And then, because it's really great that you have an understanding of how things work in the body that they have known for a very, very long time. So let's see. So the top one, which look like, as they call it, rabbit poop, right? So stools appear. Now they might be coming in here to bring in a fridge. My fridge was on the fritz, so maybe they're not. They're going to wait. And so my neighbor's moving. Talk about whatever, no coincidences, but I've been like asking, okay, I want a fridge, don't want to spend $700, $800. But my neighbors, they sold their house and they're moving out, and just so happens today, a couple of guys are in there and they're clearing it out. And they cleared out a fridge, and it works, and it's exactly the same size as the one that mine isn't working. So it's over there. So type 1, let's get back to the Bristol stool chart. This is stool school. There we go. Say that 10 times. Number 1, type 1, that look like little balls, round balls. Stools appear in separate hard lumps. They don't have to be round. Similar to nuts. So they're not that big. But type 1 stools remain in the colon the longest amount of time. So you can think of constipation and is a sure sign that you're constipated. There you go. Most common stools. So when you're not drinking enough water, be it that fiber may or may not help in the sense depending on what's going on. And my sister will tell you that if you take a certain herb, you take too much of it, I mean, that can impact. Bananas can impact. I mean, this is the thing about babies being constipated. Bananas, huge constipation. Why? Because they're more starchy. They're not the water-rich fruits that we're used to. And then peanut butter. And I've talked about that. Peanut butter, well, like zero fiber. Well, maybe there's some fiber there, but very low on the water scale. Like it's the lowest water. So it's not water, so it's not moving, and you can choke on peanut butter. If you haven't experienced that, I don't recommend you trying to experience it. So let's go to type 7. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these. You can look it up, Bristol's stool chart. So type 7 is a stool. Yeah, you can come in. Type 7 is a stool that's mostly liquid with no solid pieces, passed quickly through the colon. So this is where it's kind of the opposite, right, of the harder, lumpy stool that way. And no solid pieces pass quickly through the colon, and it is indicative of severe diarrhea, possibly as a result of a viral or bacteria infection. Now, the reason to have an appreciation for diarrhea means that things are moving quickly through the system for a reason. Now, it could be stress, could be nerves, absolutely, could be coffee, could be food poisoning. You know, you just want to move it out. Could be in the way of a viral here or some sort of an infection, the body wanting to move it out, which is a good thing. You do not want to slow it down, although you do want to keep hydrated. So the idea is hydration is very important. So here's normal. Normal is type 3, if you can see it. Type 2 is a little bit lumpier, but type 3 is more solid, a little bit bigger, and that's normal. Some people go from normal to liquidy, or they just go back and forth. But it's a great way to self-diagnose what's going on in your digestive system. And it's just one piece. There's other things that you can look for as well, and that's why I'm so looking forward to a series of self-diagnosis, because I can bring iridology into that. And I say self-diagnosis because I don't want people running around looking at people and asking questions, or particularly their eye, and say, oh, you've got this, right? I don't really want that to happen. But through the process of going through these various courses, people will be that much more enlightened. Instead of thinking something is seriously wrong, they go, oh yeah, right, I can see that I haven't been drinking water. I know I haven't been drinking water, but I can actually see it is actually quite visible. It's just another validation or a sign, another way, and a symptom kind of thing. So normal, well, stools come out similar to a sausage, but with cracks in the surface, whereas type 4 stools are smooth and soft in the form of a soft sausage or snake. Well, you'll just get a laugh just reading it. But this may indicate calcified fecal waste buildup and could indicate a blockage or even colon cancer. So the idea is these are very brief. So don't get hung up on the brief description. As soon as you say colon cancer, some people might get all up in arms. But this Bristol chart is something, again, that you can print out, and this is something I will pull out with clients to go through. It's just part of the diagnostic assessment for people to learn about them, and there you go. So yes, ashwagandha, and yes, bananas too. Yeah, and being too busy too. One of the things about a healthy stool is a routine. Get a routine and recognize if coffee is the one that is giving you your bowel movements. That could be making a lazy colon. It's a whole topic, this whole stools and what it means and all of that. All right, let's jump into some crazy stuff, but no worries. That's the topic here. No worries. Whenever your poop comes out, the idea is you assess it and you are learning, right? You are learning about it. You're growing, you're expanding. There's no wrong. When it comes to that, quite often people want to be right. And that's when we're communicating with each other, oftentimes we want to be right. There's that perfectionist, being a perfectionist, right? And to be right. But if we throw that in the garbage, basically, no worries. Just kind of tune into what you can observe quite simply and learn, because better to learn sooner than later, so to speak, right? So no worries. But here's druthers. Remember I talked about the paper druthers? It's a paper, and they're distributing it all over Canada. They're doing great things. And as I continue to read more and more of druthers, hey, beautiful Sharon, more and more about this druthers paper. Yeah, and I think they're willing to ship some off so you can deliver them to your local neighbors, perhaps, and hand them out, because I have a lot of bit of information. But no worries. At the end of the day, the paper is going to go into a lot of crazy stuff. It might not be for everyone, but I was just reading Absurdity Observer, a list of some of the most absurd things that have happened in recent weeks. So this is January. Druthers is the January one. And I was reading through some of them. And at times, they're not entirely funny, to tell you the truth. But we're going to have no worries here. We're just all going to be willing to accept what is happening and, and get on. Be it both, what do we want to call it, the spiritual and the reality work here, right? So here, I'm going to read a few off of the number of them here, but because there's a lot. There's a whole half page here. Toronto emergency physician Dr. Gil Nimney, and I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, tweeted, "I can't help but shake my head tonight. I just finished my shift at the COVID-19 assessment center at my hospital. I decided to walk through my ER on the way to the change room. Capital letters. Empty. I shake my heads at my colleagues who go on Twitter and TV ranting about how our ER is crazy." Unquote. So in a radio interview after the tweet, Dr. Nimney said he believes he is part of a silent majority in his profession who believe mainstream media is misrepresenting this situation. And at times, just having conversations with people, this kind of stuff, you don't really need a PhD. You don't need to be a specialist. You read these kind of things and you hear it right from the horse's mouth, and you see the people walking through emergency rooms, taking just videos, very quick videos, and you see it. So I don't need to listen to a TAM at the end of the day and say what she's going to say. It's what she's not saying. All right, here's another one. A Vancouver Paralympic athlete born without arms was kicked out of a local Indigo chapters and was threatened to have the police called on her after she entered the store without a mask. Now this is what's going on in consciousness. So I want to just kind of to bring this to light as well. When these things are happening to us, they're happening for us, right? They're happening for us. And we can learn based on our reactions and so forth. And it's really, on one level, that's what it is. Here's another one here. 21-year-old Ocean Wiseblent of Calgary was beaten and arrested by threat of a taser for validating violating public health orders by playing ice hockey at an outdoor rink. According to the Alberta government website, outdoor team sports must only be limited to 10 people or fewer, and 2-meter distancing must be maintained at all times. So there was 15 people on the ice playing hockey when the officers arrived to the scene, as they say in here, the scene of the crime. So let's see what else is in here. Residents of Quebec's red zones received an emergency broadcast on their phones saying public health emergency in effect. All public and private gatherings remain prohibited in red zones, and participants are subject to fines without notice. Police presence has been increased. You are asked to comply. This is right out of Star Trek. Comply with public health instructions. So, forget the child who's been abducted. Now we got to have reminders of what we need to do, like an all-out blast. I'm surprised they're not driving down the streets with a blowhorn or something and letting people know that way. But anyway, Justin Trudeau's half-brother, Kyle Kemper, spoke out, stating that he believes a global corporate crassy, I'm going to say it right fast here, has taken advantage of the COVID-19 crisis to diminish democracy and tighten control over people's lives. So that's his half-brother. I think I saw him in a short video. Let's read one more here. Pediatrician Dr. Paul Thomas, who published a landmark study that compared vaccinated children to unvaccinated children, had his medical license suspended 5 days after the study was released. So much for freedom to put your study that doesn't follow the narrative. Study indicates children who were vaccinated show an elevated rate of medical conditions ranging from respiratory infections to ADHD. Must-see interview can be found on the High Wire with Del Bigtree. Yeah, that's a good. Del's really passionate about this stuff. So are many others, for sure. But I've read things about this, and I had my own experience with my own children, where one is vaccinated and one wasn't vaccinated. Now, the one vaccinated was only vaccinated up to the age of, I think, 2, and I delayed them, and I saw a significant difference. Now, can I prove without a shadow? No, that's what they depend on. You can't prove it. And I always like that, because we'll prove it, it's not. And they can't either anyway, so it's always fun. Let's see if there's one last one here. Vancouver anti-lockdown activist Ryan Kalbaba was denied a flight from Vancouver to Toronto out of fear she might take off his mask and spread misinformation on board. A lot of questions there. How did they know this guy was an anti-lockdown activist? Seriously, what are they going out there and making sheets and sending by email? Notice, read, emergency, have to know this stuff, who's who and who's doing what. Anyway, that's Druthers, and so I'll post up the link. But Absurdity Observer, now this is probably just the tip of the iceberg, or whatever it is. I mean, I've heard enough stories. I mean, the stories of people going to get a test but then not getting the test because they waited too long. Or the other one was you have to go in and get a certain amount of checkup just before you go in. It's like pre-operation. You go in, but she denied the test, and they still had her down for doing the test as they had for these other children who were registered, and they get a call the very next day to say that they've tested positive when they didn't get the test. I have an emergency doctor here in the neighborhood, and he'll tell me that there's it's not busy. It hasn't worked out. So he could lose his job. So at the end of the day, he's having a decent conversation with me, but will he actually go on the radio and talk about it? Probably not. I mean, professors, doctors, and the like are, this is their livelihood, and they are, concerned depending on the bills. This is why the most beautiful thing is to be debt-free. one of the most beautiful things is to be debt free, and that's a thinking. The Wealthy Barber. If you haven't read The Wealthy Barber, I mean, if you're not into managing finances, that's just not your job, risk management, those kind of things. The Wealthy Barber, I remember reading it, was decades ago, but it's a wonderful, simple book for, I think, to me, it's a wonderful book for teenagers to read, actually. Very simple, but any age, any finances. But that actually is, if I had to give any advice now and going forward, is to be debt free. Live within your means and do all of that. Because what some of this stuff has done is it has put people into slavery, to what debt slavery is what they call it. Right? People are getting emails with results from the COVID test and never took it. Yeah. Oh, Dondra got one. Interesting. Lucky her, she tested negative. Oh, there you go. Oh, well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. What else is there here? I just want to bring up a couple things. I am looking at some charts. You may have heard this already. These are comparisons. Be it Florida never locked down the same way as California, but yet Florida is like even kill, whereas California is like, ooh, even though they had that. So many more deaths per million in California than what was in, now these are Collier, Florida, and Imperial, California. So they're just comparing two towns there. Then Sweden versus Los Angeles, daily deaths per 1 million. Los Angeles is way up there, where Sweden it has a blip, but be it the blip is, we have winter, we have colder, we have flus, we have all of that. So that's typically, there is usually that, some sort of a curve. Nothing's flat-lined. And yeah, California, then daily new deaths per million, California, Florida. So California's way up there. Not in this case so way up there, but I cannot read the axis here to either X or Y axis here just to see what the scale is. But at the end of the day, the charts are there, the facts are there. Never mind people sending them out. They're there. They're on Health Canada. They're on CDC. They're there. And the ideas is all right out there for people to see. So let's see what else I wanted to kind of bring in. But definitely there is this thing. I'm going to just say it because I just had a conversation with somebody who's a biochemist, and we had a very engaging conversation. Of course, in the way that people will put authority, or let's say the experts, on the pedestal. They're hired, they have a position, they must know what they're talking about, and I get that, I really do get that, but I'm going to say not most people, a certain number of people. It's really simple to add 1 + 1. Do weighted averages, read a chart, be able to think about what you're reading. Go and read, just in the just read through the research and pull it together. It's not too complicated in my mind. We got to be able to focus, of course, but the idea of, this is how I described it. And it's not, how would I say it? It's not wrong. It's not wrong to even believe it a little bit, then not believe it a little bit, then really not believe it. So just kind of wavering, another W word, wavering with how you're feeling about things. Okay, that would be a good way to just kind of look at information. So you read this over here, read that over there, but it is still immensely important to put things in the bigger picture, right? New world, a new world sounds very, I know some of these words and language are just used, they're just thrown out there for sure, and they're used, but imagine that at this time everything's being exposed, right? Some of this is about exposing, no question about it. And has it all been exposed? No. Do the masses even know? probably, who knows, I don't even want to say masses, but how many people don't do, that's obvious with the fears and who people are listening to and believing. But if there's two sides, clearly one side's got to be wrong, or both of them got to be wrong, right? And that sometimes it puts me in a place where you can't both be right. So if somebody says this, another person says that, you can't both be right. So at a very simple level, and we're hearing emergency rooms are packed. Well, no, emergency rooms are not so packed. Well, they both can't be right, right? Even if you can just be willing to kind of just take an account that there's two different things being shared. That is what keeps me, how can I say it? I don't want to say neutral, because that sounds like you're not making any decisions, but it just keeps me thinking about what is right and what is wrong. And maybe it's not entirely this one over there, or it's not entirely that one. Maybe it's the third one, or maybe there's a third one that's not right either. But anyway, you get what I mean in that light. So it definitely seems that there's something greater. And I watched a video this morning, and I'll put it up. I'm going to put it, I'll have to bring it up again. I didn't leave it up, but I'm going to put a link down to Sylvain Henry. Might be doing some YouTube videos, or at least streaming through there. So he has posted his YouTube, and I went on and I liked it. And I don't know what he's up to now, but he's looking for getting 1,000. But YouTube's probably not the best place either in some cases. Anyway, I post that. Now, this is a video that he shared on the Great Reset, and it actually talks about Davos, and it's the actual YouTube channel, the World Economic Forum, and it's a really mishmash. If you watch it, just pay attention to how mishy-mashy it is, and it has you going, well, oh, okay, that's not good. Like, it's trying to, it's almost like there's some truths in there, but yet, what do they mean exactly by the Great Reset? You know, so it's a kind of a mishy-mashy, but it's a short video, so watch it, take it in, and give it give it one of these. Anyway, but it's completely up to you and what you want to give it. But that's an interesting video in itself. So let me just see if there was any other thing that I wanted to bring up today. So druthers, yeah, all these little stories and pieces in, I think that was it. You're hearing things from all over the place anyway. I don't really want to go over and over. Definitely still calling it an injection as opposed to the other one. And some people really feel this is a step up. This is an improvement. And in my opinion, I think everybody should look at it a little bit more seriously. But there's definitely, how would I describe it? Not wanting to believe that there is anything nefarious happening, for sure. I can see how that would shut people down. Absolutely. Because you just think about what's gone on, and you think about what everybody's gone through from the FEAR scenario to the economic, just what's happening in the economy. And you would just, I mean, it would all just flood in at once, you know. So somebody who's just learning for the first time, it would just flood in, you know, just flood. Here's what I say. If that ever happens and you know this person, or even if you don't know this person but you feel comfortable, just give them a big hug and tell them, no worries, everything will be okay. And continue the dialogue. That's what I would say. There's something about that, about a hug, and not a quick hug. Not a quick hug, but actually a hug that's going to last 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Even do this with people that you know and friends, and you would be surprised what kind of comes up and what kind of wells up in the body, in the ability to release. So do that anyway. Don't stop doing that. Even 10, whatever, 5, 2 years, 10 years down the road. A longer hug, and just allow the opportunity for people to feel and to release. It's really, if you're willing to do it, it's really freeing of the energy of the holding back. If people kind of hold back, let's say somebody passed even, or something happened that makes people sad, and it really allows for people to really, really, really kind of express. So what else was I going to talk about? Yeah, I definitely want to hit back that again, because this is part of homework, but it's also kind of like imagining. Entrepreneur. What would you do as an entrepreneur? So as this new world comes together, what would you do as an entrepreneur? What kind of entrepreneur would you be? What would you want to do? What would be exciting for you to do? Those entrepreneurs are across the board. Never mind the healthcare practitioners, but all the arts, all the skilled plumbers, electrician, people growing all the food, doing all the small farms, all of that, entrepreneur, and people making clothing and sweaters, getting back to that, hemp and fabric, and doing that. Just the artistry, the photographer for the weddings, the event planners. There's so much that entrepreneurs actually have that they can do. So what would you do as an entrepreneur? So now you're not working for anybody. Well, you are working. If you're making a sweater for somebody, in a way you can say, yeah, I'm working for this person. But let's put that aside. But you're your own boss. You're an entrepreneur. What would you be doing? Now, maybe it's one thing, maybe it's two, maybe it's three, whichever it is. Have a little bit of creativity and think about it, and then maybe explore what it is to become that. It might be something you've dreamt about, it might be a hobby, and explore what does that mean to humanity, to society, to if you were in a small town, if you were in a big city, what would it mean? How would it be contributing to the new, to the new earth, to the new world? What would it be? Right, that way. The Greater Reset. I saw that name the other day. I think it's brilliant. So you've got the Great Reset, which is their want to be, but not officially planned. But a Greater Reset would be the new earth. There you go. I thought that was clever. I can't remember where I saw it, but let's get into some jokes. Carry on and wrap up. Humor. All right, so I'll say this one first. Sometimes puns are a little bit on the dark side, but it is what it is. So here we go. I've got 3 of them. How's everybody doing? Priest asks a convicted murderer at the electric chair, "Do you have any last requests?" "Yes," he says. "Please hold my hand." That's not so much of a shocker, is it? All right, next one. A man walks into a bar and orders helicopter-flavored chips. Let me repeat that. A man walks into a bar and orders helicopter-flavored chips. The bartender replies, Sorry, we only do plain." Helicopter, plane, and there it's spelled plain as in plain chips, but there you go. Okay, well that one will fly out the window. All right, next one. How did the telephone propose to his girlfriend? I just imagine a blue phone and a red phone or a pink phone or whatever. How did the telephone propose to his girlfriend? He gave her a ring. There's like a drum roll for that one. Anyway, that was a fun one. So, have a laugh, have some humor, Be willing to laugh, be willing to learn, be willing to be aware, be willing to show up for yourself, show up for other people. Be willing. There's no wrong. There's no wrong. There's this whole thing about we don't need to convince anybody. We really don't need to convince anybody about different things, but we can share. Right? We can share information, we can bring it up, we can ask questions. Have you heard of this? I still ask strangers, have you heard of the Great Reset? And I'm still getting nope, I haven't heard of it. And it's such a little thing, but I think the important thing is the why. The why. Because there's too much, as I was talking earlier, about experts and authorities. There's too much put on the pedestal of these authorities. I mean, they could say whatever they want, basically, or be told to say whatever they want, but nobody knows any different. So when we're kind of listening to them, we just want to make sure we're keeping everything in perspective, right? Absolutely. So I'm going to say adios, ciao, arrivederci, au revoir, bye-bye for now. And until next Live at 5, probably Monday, because I have seriously a few projects that I want to get done over the weekend, so I might not think about it. But if there's anything coming up, but generally what has to come up is be calm, take care of yourself, take care of others, be kind, be compassionate. Yeah, I mean, be calm is probably the biggest thing, and just everything is happening and things are happening different to different people for the reasons uniquely for them to look at, right? To learn from, to grow from. So that's important. Anyway, I'm going to leave you at that point. Take care, and we will see you again live at 5. Bye for now. Oh, love you too, Zena. Bye.